Today I'm going to do a tutorial using Prismacolor Watercolor Pencils. I'm also going to be using 90-pound multimedia Canson sketchbook paper. I have a small round paintbrush and some water, and my inspiration is a pink lady apple. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to sketch out my apple. And when sketching out an apple or any kind of natural form, you don't want to think of the perfect little, cartoon apple. You want to really look at that item, and if it's got some abnormal shapes or it's kind of sideways, you want to kind of capture all those shapes. I wanted to create this simple apple tutorial because I know a lot of people have not tried watercolor pencils and they don't know exactly how to start or how to use them. So what I'm going to do is at first I'm going to create a color chart, and this will help you get to know your colors and what they look like on paper first. I have two different kinds of reds. I have a cool red and a warm red. That just means that one has a little bit more orange and one has a little bit more blue or purple in it. Also, I'm going to have a warm and a brighter yellow. One is a golden and one's more of like a lemon. And I'm also going to have a brown and a green. If you're familiar with the color wheel or color theory, you would know that green is the complementary color of red. When placed next to red, it makes it appear more vibrant. But when mixed with red, it becomes dull and kind of muddy. If you know this, you can use it to your advantage in shadows and vibrancies and things like that. So what I'm doing now is just taking my small paintbrush with a little bit of water, and I am liquefying that little value scale that I made with all my different colors so that I have a color swatches to the side of my drawing so I know exactly what they look like. Now that I have the different color swatches, I'm going to start applying some of the red to the apple. I have two different kinds of reds. I have one that's a little bit more of a warm red, a little orange in it. And then I have a cooler red, which means that it kind of leans towards the purple family just a little bit. It's just a little bit cooler. And I'm showing you the apple again so you can kind of see the goal that I'm trying to achieve, where the yellows and the reds blend together. Apples obviously are round, and so if you're trying to make a drawing have form and roundness, you want to leave some highlight somewhere in the center top area, which would be naturally where the light hits. And then you want to have some shadows or some darker values towards the bottom and towards the edges. And this will give it that illusion of volume or roundness. I will use my watercolor pencils, and I will be what I would call shading. So I am creating some darker, more saturated areas, and then I'm doing some very light areas because I'm going to want that white paper to show through a little bit here and there. So I'm going to continue layering my colors in and kind of building up that form and creating the illusion of roundness. So I've added a lot of my warmer red, the orangey red. I'm taking some of my cool red, and I'll list all of this stuff in description, exactly the names of the colors that I'm using. And I'm layering them up a little bit, and that's going to create a little bit more depth in texture and interest to the apple. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start adding some of my warm yellow. It's a yellow that has a little bit of orange into it, and it's going to be a nice transition in those spaces that I'm trying to create that yellow markings that the Pink Lady apple has. That is my inspiration. And after I've added some of the golden yellow colors, I'm going to add in a more of a lemon yellow in some areas. I'm still going to leave some of my paper exposed. I want to do this because I want to leave some highlight at the end. And if we color it in solid, it's going to look very flat. So we don't want to do that. We want to create some areas that the white paper is going to shine through just a little bit, where the yellow can be a little bit more vibrant. But I'm going to go ahead and keep adding. I'm now going to start adding my darker values around a little bit around the edges, and especially around the bottom area of the apple, where naturally there would be less light and you would have darker values. I'm using brown, but I'm also going to use some green. And the reason I'm going to use some green is because when you blend green and red together, they neutralize and they create this darker brownish muddy color, which is great to have some variation on your shadows. And I'm going to use that green again towards the end of this painting. But when you start learning about color theory and the color wheel and how colors play together, you'll want to try to pull in that complementary color here and there to help you out with shadows or toning things down, or dulling a color down. It's a great way to use colors in blending if you have a limited palette. Okay, so I'm using my paintbrush. I'm using a small round paintbrush. And one thing that you really need to keep in mind is that your brush strokes need to go in the same direction as your pencil strokes. So you don't want to paint a cross section or against the grain, you could say, of your drawing. You want your paintbrush, your wet paintbrush, is simply a blending tool to liquefy this pencil. So one of the common mistakes that sometimes I come across is that I see people just taking that paintbrush and just going all over their drawing, and you don't want to do that. Your paintbrush is a blender, and you're going to want to clean and rinse it off often. You can choose to blend all the colors together. You can also start in a white area and push the color, the pigment away from an area. But I do recommend using paint strokes that are the same size, the same direction, and mimic the drawing that you've already created. Of course, if you get something that's a little bit too wet, or you want to take something up, you can take a paper towel and just blot it up a little area. But keep that paintbrush clean, because if you are blending in the brown area and then you don't clean your paintbrush and you go up to the top of the apple where it's yellow, you're going to bring some of that brown pigment in. You don't want to do that. Okay, my apple inspiration did not have a stem, but I feel like this drawing needs a stem, so I'm going to go ahead and add one. Also, I'm going to start adding a shadow underneath. Okay, the shadow that I have added underneath the apple to create some grounding, and I've added some brown. I'm going to put some green in there, a little bit of dark green, and I talked about how I like to use complementary colors, and so I'm going to make it more of a greenish brown for the shadow. And when I'm painting, I want you to notice that when I start blending this shadow with water and my paintbrush, I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to blend up, and I'm pushing that pigment up towards the apple because I want it to be darkest at that point. If I were to start at the darkest point and go down, I'd pull that pigment down, which would make the value more flat. And I want to create a nice value transition from light to very dark that goes from the bottom up to the top to the bottom of the apple. And so I'm pushing the pigment up towards where I want it to be the darkest. Okay, what you probably noticed is that I took some of the pigment from my shadow and it was still on my paintbrush, and I added an extra shadow on the side of my apple. That's another little fun trick that you can do. You have some pigment that you can spread around somewhere else that would be helpful to your drawing. This is a great little mini project for the beginner. This is a great practice for blending, for shading, for adding lighter values, darker values, for creating form. And I hope that if you've ever wondered about watercolor pencils, that you try them. I know that some people love them, some people don't, but I hope that this tutorial was helpful in getting you started in trying watercolor pencils.